Hello my dear student, Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I hope all of you doing well by the grace of Almighty Allah. I am Hafiza Khatun Konika, senior teacher of Milestone School and College, Sector 4 branch, Uttara, Dhaka. Today I will take your science class. Class 6, Chapter 2. Chapter name is Living World. Lecture number 27. Dear student, you know that every class is related with each other. So before starting today's class, I want to discuss previous class. From your previous class, you have learned about non-flowering plants and flowering plants. So let's see at a glance. What is non-flowering plants? There are some plants that never bear flower and fruits. And these plants reproduce by forming spores. These plants are called non-flowering plants, okay? And this is a group of plants, many of whose body is not divisible into root, stem and leaf. These plants are Thallophyta. Do you know example? Spirogyra, right? Spirogyra is non-flowering plants. Again, some plants have stem and leaves, but they have no roots like plants. Instead of roots, they have bracteoid. They are green and autophytic. They grow on moist soil and old walls and wooden logs. They are also found floating on water. Usually, they grow on old walls so densely that they look like a thick carpet. An example is moss. And I know that all of you are already familiar with moss. Ferns are the most advanced form of plants among the non-flowering plants. Their body is divided into root, stem and leaves. They grow on damp old walls and shadow places. Example is familiar with you, like dheki shag. Okay, dheki shag is non-flowering plants. So dear students, now I will discuss with you about flowering plants. Flowers are born in flowering plants, that is like mango, jackfruit, shapla, China rose, etc. Their body can be differentiated into root, stem and leaves. Some of these plants can produce fruits while some cannot. Therefore, the seeds of such plants are naked. So students, now I will ask you some questions from your previous lecture. Students who can give me the answer will be good, but who cannot, no problem. I will give you the answer also, okay? But before that, make sure please take your copy, book and pen so that you can write the answer of this question, okay? So let's start. Question number 1. What is flowering plants? Plants that can produce flowers are known as flowering plants. Some of these plants can produce fruits while some plants cannot produce fruits. Example, cycas and mango, etc. Then question number 2. What is non-flowering plants? Plants that cannot produce flowers are known as non-flowering plants. Example: algae, moss, ferns. The next question, question number 3. Write the characteristics of non-flowering plants. Non-flowering plants. Characteristics number 1. Non-flowering plants do not have flowers or fruits. Example: moss, ferns. Then characteristics number 2. Moss and ferns reproduce from spores. Then characteristics number 3. They are green and can make their own food. The next question, question number 4. Write the characteristics of flowering plants. Plants that can produce flowers are known as flowering plants. That means you can write characteristics number 1. Flowering plants can produce flowers. Then characteristics number 2, you can write flowering plants can produce fruits while some plants cannot produce fruits. Example: cycas and mango tree. The next question, question number 5. What is called saprophytic? Saprophytes are organisms that cannot make their own food. In order to survive, they feed on dead and decaying matter. The next question, question number 6. And here you can see the question. What is spores? Spores are microscopic particles that are able to grow into a new organisms. Spores are produced by bacteria, fungi, algae and plants. The next question, question number 7. What is rhizoid? A thin root-like structure that absorbs nutrition and anchors the plants is called rhizoid. The next question, question number 8. Dheki shak is an example of which plant? The answer will be non-flowering plant. That means dheki shak is an example of non-flowering plant. Dear student, now I will start today's topics. Our first topics, angiosperm plants. Dear student, I think all of you familiar with mango tree, blackberry tree, palm tree. Can you observe here one thing? These all plants are green, right? So most of the green plants around us are closed seed flowering plants, and these plants have ovary. The ovules are within the ovary. After fertilization, the ovules turn into seeds and ovaries develop into fruits. And for this reason, what will happen? The seeds of such plants are found hidden within the fruit. So, for angiosperm plants, what will be the definition? Here you can see the definition of angiosperm plants. Angiosperms are plants that produce flowers and bear their seeds in fruits. They are the largest and most diverse group within the kingdom Pantae. Dear student, now I will show you a video on these topics, and I hope all of your confusion will be cleared after watching this video. So please enjoy this video, okay? So let's go.
Plantations, apple orchards, or herbs such as basil. You may have also seen flowers such as lotus and roses growing in ponds and gardens. All these are species of flowering plants, also called angiosperms. These are plants in which the ovules develop inside the flowers. The seeds too are enclosed in fruits, and they can be monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous. A typical flower of an angiosperm contains the stamen and the pistil, the male and female sex organs respectively. The stamen consists of two parts, filament and anther. The microsporangia inside the anther contain the microspore mother cells. These mother cells undergo meiosis to produce microspores, which then develop into pollen grains, the male gametophytes. The pollen grains are produced inside the anther. On the other hand, the pistil consists of the stigma at the tip, followed by the style in the middle, and an ovary at the base. The ovules, or the megasporangia, are present inside the ovary. These ovules contain the megaspore mother cell, which, following meiosis, develops into the haploid female gametophyte called the embryo sac. The embryo sac has a three-celled egg apparatus consisting of one egg cell, two synergids, three antipodal cells, and two polar nuclei. The polar nuclei eventually fuse to produce a diploid secondary nucleus. The embryo sac now becomes ready for fertilization, which, in the case of angiosperms, takes place by a process called pollination. During pollination, the anther disperses the pollen grains, which are then carried by agents such as the wind and insects, and are deposited over the stigma of a pistil. Here, the pollen grain germinates and produces up to the embryo sac inside the ovule. With the egg cell to produce a zygote, the other gamete fuses with the diploid secondary nucleus to produce the triploid primary endosperm nucleus. This event is called double fertilization as it involves two fusions. Interestingly, double fertilization is observed only in angiosperms. After fertilization, the synergids and antipodals degenerate. On the other hand, the zygote develops into an embryo, and the primary endosperm nucleus develops into an endosperm, which nourishes the zygote. Simultaneously, the ovule develops into a seed and the ovary into a fruit. The seed germinates and the embryo develops into a new plant. Angiosperms are one of the biggest plant groups, and they grow in diverse habitats such as land and water, as well as in different climatic conditions. Besides being a source of food, they supply us with fuel, fodder, and medicines. Thus, angiosperms form an integral part of the ecosystem as well as of our daily lives.
You already learned about angiosperm plants. Now I will tell you about invertebrates and vertebrates. Okay? Friends, take a whole well cooked fish. Take out the flesh of the fish gently so that the bone remains intact. Now observe the fish bone. The hard long bone running from neck to tail is known as vertebral column. Now try to feel the middle of your back. Can you feel the long hard bone running from your neck to the area close to your waist. This is what we can vertebral column. Depending on the presence of vertebral column, the animal kingdom is divided into two groups, invertebrate and vertebrate. The example of vertebrate like fish, frogs, birds, cattle, humans, etc. They have vertebral column. Since these animals have vertebral column, they are called vertebrates. On the other hand, mosquito, flies, butterflies, crabs, these are invertebrates, which means these animals do not have vertebral columns. Put the animals from the following list into two groups. Dear student, do this activity in your copy, okay? Here you can see some animal, which are some invertebrate and some vertebrate. Make two columns in your copy and write the invertebrate animals in invertebrate part and write the vertebrate animal in vertebrate column. Here you can see some animal, cockroach, fish, chicken, dog, frog, wall lizard, earthworm, mosquito, cow, butterfly, snail and starfish. For your better understanding, I will give you the answer also. Here you can see the answer, okay? Here you can see two columns, invertebrate and vertebrate. So, first one, cockroach. Cockroach will be invertebrate because in cockroach there is no vertebral column. So, it will be invertebrate animal. Then fish. Fish will be vertebrate because fish has vertebrate column. Then chicken. Chicken will be vertebrate animal. Then dog will be vertebrate animal. Then next one, frog. Frog will be vertebrate animal. Then wall lizard, which will be vertebrate animal. Earthworm will be invertebrate animal because it has no vertebral column. Then mosquito. Mosquito will be invertebrate animal. Then cow. Cow will be vertebrate animal. Butterfly will be non-vertebrate animal. Then snail and starfish. Snail and starfish will be invertebrate animal. So students, this is the list of invertebrate and vertebrate animal. Now I will tell you characteristics of invertebrates and vertebrates. And here you can see the characteristics of invertebrates animal. They are multicellular, they are eukaryotics, they are heterotrophs, they don't have a cell wall, they can move, most are organized in a way called symmetrical. Sponges and coral are not symmetrical. Most have nervous and muscle tissue. These all are the characteristics of invertebrates. Then I will tell you some characteristics of vertebrates, okay? So students, write these characteristics in your copy, okay? Here you can see some characteristics of vertebrates. Number 1. All vertebrates have a backbone, a series of structures that surround and protect the nerve cord or spinal cord. The spinal cord connects all the nerves in the body to the brain. Bones that form a backbone are called vertebrae. Dear student, now I will tell you differentiate between vertebrates and invertebrates. So for vertebrates, number 1, they have an internal skeleton. On the other hand, for invertebrates, they have no internal skeleton. Vertebrates number 2, a backbone will be present for vertebrates animal. On the other hand, backbone will not present for invertebrates. Then for vertebrates number 3, nerve cord is dorsal and hollow. But for invertebrates, nerve cord is ventral and solid. Then next, vertebrate number 4. Heart is on the ventral side of the body, where for invertebrates, heart when present is on the dorsal side of the body. Then last one, number 5. For vertebrates, hemoglobin is present is red blood cells. But on the other hand, invertebrates, hemoglobin if present is dissolved in plasma. So this is the differentiate between vertebrates and invertebrates. So students, now I will show you a small video on these topics, and I hope all of your confusion will be cleared after watching this video. So please watch this video. Let's go.
The world is full of many different types of animals. Some swim, some fly, some breathe air, and some breathe underwater. Some have skeletons, and others don't. To help us understand the differences between the animals in our world, scientists classify or sort animals into different groups that share important characteristics. The two largest groups of animals are vertebrates and invertebrates. Vertebrates are animals that have spines or backbones. Invertebrates are animals that do not have backbones. Most of the animals in the world are invertebrates. Some examples of invertebrates are octopus and squid, insects, arachnids, starfish and sea urchins, jellyfish, crabs and lobsters, clams, and many more creatures. On land, most invertebrates are fairly small, but in the water, they may grow to much larger sizes, as the water will support them even without a skeleton. Vertebrates make up less than 5% of all animal species on Earth, but if I asked you to think of an animal, you would probably choose a vertebrate. Vertebrates are divided into different classes or groups. Several of these classes are specific types of fish. For example, jawless fish, like lampreys and hagfish, and cartilaginous fish, like sharks and rays. For simplicity's sake, these other classes are usually lumped together with bony fish and just called fish. The 4 remaining classes of vertebrates will all be very familiar: amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Let's look at the characteristics that make an animal a fish. Fish live in the water, and they can breathe underwater. They use gills, not lungs, to get oxygen from the water around them. Fish have scales and fins. They are cold-blooded, which means that they cannot control their own body temperature, which changes based on the temperature of the environment around them. Most fish also lay eggs. Amphibians are a group of animals that include frogs, toads, newts, salamanders, and more. Amphibians, like fish, are cold-blooded. Unlike fish, amphibians can live on land and in the water, and have smooth, moist skin. Amphibians lay their delicate jelly-covered eggs in the water. When the eggs hatch, the young may not look much like their parents, because some amphibians must go through metamorphosis, or a big change, to become adults. Aside from some fish, amphibians are the only vertebrates that undergo metamorphosis. Reptiles you might know are turtles, snakes, crocodiles, and lizards. Like fish and amphibians, reptiles are cold-blooded. Unlike them, reptiles are air-breathing animals and cannot breathe underwater. Even reptiles that live in the water must come to the surface to breathe. You can tell if an animal is a reptile instead of an amphibian if it has dry, scaly skin. Most reptiles lay eggs, but they are very different from the eggs of amphibians or fish. Their eggs are laid out of the water and have a protective shell. For the most part, reptile eggs have soft, leathery shells. Birds are easy to recognize. They are the only type of animals in the world to have feathers. Like reptiles, birds can only breathe air. All birds have 2 legs, and all birds also have wings, but not all birds fly. Unlike fish, amphibians, and reptiles, birds are warm-blooded. That means that they can maintain a constant body temperature. Birds lay eggs, but unlike the eggs of reptiles, birds' eggs have hard shells. The last group of animals we are going to talk about is mammals. Mammals are the group of animals that humans belong to. Like birds, mammals are warm-blooded and breathe air. Even mammals that live in water must come to the surface to breathe. All mammals have at least some fur or hair, although some have less than others. Almost all mammals give birth to live young instead of laying eggs, and all mammals feed their babies milk. A fun fact about mammals is that mammals are the only animals to have ears that stick out. The animal kingdom is classified into many different groups based on animal characteristics to help us understand the world around us. Saying an animal is an invertebrate, a vertebrate, a fish, amphibian, reptile, bird, or mammal tells us many things about it that can help us to understand its needs and behavior. I hope you enjoyed learning about animal classification.
Dear student, now it's time to give you some related question. So here you can see related question. Question number 1. Write the definition of angiosperm plants. Question number 2. What is vertebrates? Number 3. What is invertebrates? Then question number 4. Write the characteristics of invertebrates animal. Then write the characteristics of vertebrates animal. Then write the difference between vertebrate and invertebrate animals. Students, I already discussed the answer of this question. So I hope all of you now can write the answer of this question. Now I will give you your homework. Here you can see your homework. This is homework number 18 and your homework is question number 1, what is vertebral column? And question number 2, give a short description about invertebrates. Dear student, please learn and write these 2 questions, okay? So thank you so much for joining. See you soon. Till then, stay home, be safe. Allah Hafiz and Assalamu Alaikum.